All right, this is Todd Atkins, and I'm back with Art Ayala. If you guys watched the last episode, he was with us going into this Gervonta Davis, um, Ryan Garcia super fight. Now that we've had it, we're going to kind of wrap up what we saw and also get into some of the post-fight controversies that were there. And I just want to mention my sponsor, Live to Fight Design. They make fight banners and gym banners. You can find them on Instagram at Live to Fight Design. And Art, so I kind of wanted to get into, obviously we had the big fight. Maybe give me kind of like your overall impressions of what we saw before we get into it too much.
The overall impression of the Tank Garcia fight.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I saw was like I said on the other video, I think Gervonta's ring IQ is underrated because well, he knocks people out. He has power, and normally you're expecting, or people are expecting, somebody like Tyson to just go in there and mow their opponent down. But I think he's adding more tools to his arsenal, and I think his ring IQ is really being sharpened out. Like for Rolly Romero, I saw him just just waiting and thinking, outboxing him and just setting up traps. And then I think we saw this again for the Garcia fight. I think the only reason why the knockdown happened in the second round was only because Garcia did something different in the second round. He just came out blasting. He got reckless, and I think he pretty much cornered Tank into dropping him. But I think if it worked for Tank, he probably would have taken a couple more rounds to study him. And I think Garcia not being able to hold down his plan was the beginning of his downfall for the fight.
Why do you think Garcia got so aggressive in that second round? Because the first round they
So
were kind of feeling
frustrated.
each other out.
I think he got frustrated because Tank because Garcia's strongest point is his speed, and I think him having that natural talent from the beginning took away from him wanting to work on other stuff to become a better, well-rounded fighter. And I think Tank quickly neutralized that by staying just a little bit out of reach. And what I saw is I think he got frustrated. He's young, and from what we're seeing, from what I saw, didn't show discipline to follow the. I don't know what the plan was or to follow any plan he got given. Uh, he got frustrated and just came out thinking I'm just gonna catch this guy one way or another. And then I mean you can't do that with Tank, and he found out the hard way.
I want to
So
ask you what you.
and then I
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh another thing I think Garcia kind of has one foot in and one foot out of boxing, and I don't think you can get away with that. You know you either got to be all in or not. And I think Canelo, when Ryan left the camp, Canelo criticized Ryan for that, and it became this big Twitter war back and forth.
Now I want to ask you about Joe Goosen because he was the trainer for the fight. What did you think of that choice?
Hmm. Well, from what I know, or I think that was his trainer before, or at some point, I think that was his trainer. Then Ryan went with the Canelo team, and then he went back to Joe Goosen. I didn't really see, if any, I didn't see an improvement when he went with Goosen, and I think his flaws. A lot of boxing fans see Ryan's flaws, and I've never seen. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they're addressing his mistakes. Like keep your hand up, don't stick your chin out so much. Be lighter on your feet. You know, like I said, it just seems like Ryan has one foot in and one foot out.
Now I want to get a little bit into, where people were talking about the A side, B side thing with Garcia having the rehydration clause and that stuff. But the way I look at it, he's 140 pounds. So had he been fighting at 135 the entire time, none of that would have been an issue. Do you agree?
I agree. I mean, if you're gonna choose a weight class, um, you know, have the discipline or have the ability to make the weight without it being an issue. Now, as far as the rehydration clause, um, was it he couldn't weigh more than 10 pounds? Was it,
Yeah.
or what was it?
Yeah.
Um, and if he knew that would have been an issue, then maybe, I mean, kind of sucks, but maybe he should have said no to it and then moved up and not campaign at that lighter weight. Campaign at your natural weight where none of this is going to be an issue, or just bargain different. Give him something and get those whatever pounds you need. So I mean, I'm not sure how the negotiations went down, but if it's going to come down to that, where you're going to need that extra 1-2 pound or whatever, then give them something. Take a smaller purse or whatever. I'm sure they could have worked it out.
Now, there's a couple things I want to ask you, like controversies surrounding the fight. So, the first one we have was the whole mole thing. Do you really think there was a mole in the camp, or do you think that was more like mind games or just kind of like trash talk, so to speak?
I think it was mind games. Um, and as far as a mole in the camp, I mean, if you know me personally, I think if you know the work you're putting in the ring, I wouldn't care who's watching. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna get in there, you're gonna have to deal with me, just me and you. Um, you know, so I think that, I mean, maybe for strategizing and planning, but even at that, I think you should always have a plan A, plan B, plan C. You got to have the ability to swap the strategies in the ring. Well, if one of your hand gets hurt, then maybe use the other one, or just have the ability to adapt to whatever the fight's gonna bring to you.
Now, let me ask you this. Because Tank won the fight, what did you think that he did really well throughout?
I think his discipline. I think he watches carefully, and not just in the fight. I think he's been, like I said, a lot of fans have seen Ryan's mistakes, and I mean, if we could see him, I'm sure Tank could see him, and he already knew what punch would probably land. I mean, his hands always dropping, so I thought it would have been more of a. I mean, the first drop was, I think, like an overhand left, I think. So I always thought the fight was gonna end that way, but then I think Tank already had the plan to work the body, and then at one point I told my friend, I said, look, he's kind of overreacting to he was like leaning forward like too much, so I thought, I don't think he has a strong core. I think, and then, I mean, your opponent's gonna see that they pick up on things like that, and they already know. It's pretty much like a green light to go ahead and attack, the midsection or whatever. The When an eye puffs up, then you're just gonna go for that eye.
Yeah, Davis was also kind of sticking his hand up. He wasn't really jabbing, but he's kind of sticking his hand up to see if Garcia would react to it, and then kind of throw
Yeah,
the left straight to the body underneath it.
yeah, and then by that time he had already neutralized the Garcia's advantage, which was the speed, because Garcia wasn't tagging him too much. So I think that kind of made Garcia hesitant of throwing his punches. So I mean, I think the discipline and the ring IQ played 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 a big factor in the fight outcome.
Were you a little surprised to see that Garcia was trying to do the chasing and not kind of playing more of a boxing game like maybe what De La Hoya did against Trinidad?
I was a little bit surprised, but I figured he's frustrated. He threw a very awkward punch at one point. It was like angled down, and I don't know. It was odd seeing that, but he's very young, and it just seems like he didn't have a plan to just in case he couldn't tag him, or he it looks like he doesn't have the ability to bring something out, bring something different out if one thing is not working. So I think at this point, I think he really needs to go back and kind of relearn the fundamentals of boxing, and just kind of forget that he has that speed, and remember to keep his hands up. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Now, we had some post-fight controversy with De La Hoya and Hopkins not being at the press
Hmm.
conference. And De La Hoya said Hopkins was banned because, they were accusing him of having like testosterone cream on his hands or something
Oh
crazy
yeah,
like that.
touching.
I mean,
I,
what do
I
you make of all this?
I think it's just shit talking between them. Floyd you know, Golden Boy, they don't see eye to eye, and if they could accuse them of something ridiculous, I think they're gonna do it, and I think it would bother Hopkins. I mean, if I got accused of doing something that's not within me to do, I would be I would be bothered, and I think me personally, I think it's more of a mind game between the camps,
Right,
because
but
I
for
mean they
them to
were
not
rivals at one point.
show up at the post-fight press conference though, why do you think they did that?
Oh, that I don't know about that. See that me? I mean, it doesn't matter how. To me, I don't think it matters how bad the shit talking is between them. I think it was the right thing to do was to be there supporting Ryan, and he's young. He's a kid. So I mean, it's not a good look. You got these grown men that are in charge of this kid's career, not being there for support. And just to show the public, because those are the people that are calling them out.
Right, and, De La Hoya made a statement, I don't know if you saw it on social media, but he used part of that whole testosterone cream thing, saying Bernard had been banned from the event already,
Hmm.
after that
So yeah, so if
accusation was
Bernard's
made,
banned,
so he couldn't go to the post-fight press conference, and De La Hoya, I don't know, I mean, he kinda gave a half-hearted excuse for why he wasn't there, but it is a bad look.
it's a bad look, and then I mean I don't think De La Hoya was supposedly banned, so why wasn't he there? I mean it sucks, for Ryan, because like I said, at the end of the day, he's still a young kid, and I mean I think it's bad enough he lost, like now your team's not there. All the people that have been telling you that you're the top fighter, and they're hyping you up and everything. You know they're making money with you, but you're also making money. But it's supposed to be your team. You expect support from your team. It's to be expected. So I think it was a bad choice not to show up.
Yeah, I find it interesting because, leading up in the pre-fight press conference, they were talking about how Tank's team wasn't confident in him winning and Ryan's team was behind him. But at the end of the fight, Ryan Garcia was all alone.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I mean, I don't know if you saw that link I sent you, but how Golden Boy signed I think Eric Priest, and to me that kind of looks like they have their next kind of like their next star lined up. So I mean, Ryan took a loss. Now, to me, I think that they're gonna try to build up Eric Priest, but he shows a lot of talent. I've seen some of his fights, and I mean, he does a lot of good things in the ring.
But I mean, I still think there's a lot there for Garcia to do, don't you?
Oh yeah, definitely. But I really think that he needs to become a more rounded fighter. He can't, and I mean, Tank had been saying it all along. You can't rely just on your hand speed, because he also doesn't look too athletic, to maneuver in and out and sideways. I think that just him being so fast kind of just made him not work on other things, that he could have brought out and made him a better fighter overall.
Now we have this fight with Haney and Lomachenko. Maybe real quick, tell me what you think's going to happen there, because I think that's who people will want to see Davis face next, the winner of it.
Yeah. Um, I, I think Haney's a very talented fighter. And then kind of to me, he showed that he's able to do different things when he fought Cambosos when he was pressing him on the rematch. So he kind of changed his game plan. Um, but also Lomachenko, what was it, 500 or 400 fights, amateur fights? I think he had, and not too many defeats. So with all those amateur fights, he, he's seen many styles, and then even in the pros, he was very good. And he was doing things that you really don't see, like his footwork. So he didn't look too good in his last fight, but this upcoming fight, it might be to him, it might be one of the biggest in his career. So I don't think he's gonna sleep on it. He's gonna work very hard, and I think we might see the old Lomachenko, not this one we saw in his previous fight. Um, I think he's gonna bring out the best Lomachenko for his age right now. And really, he's not too old, but he's definitely not as sharp as he was when he was making those other fighters quit, like Nicholas what is it, Walters, Nicholas Walters, the Axeman. He made Ringadell quit. He made like three fighters quit. I think almost back to back. So I think that was he was at his peak right there. But he's still a very smart, uh, capable fighter. So I think just him knowing that all those belts are on the line, and then facing somebody like Haney, I think it's gonna bring out the best out of Lomachenko.
Yeah, I think if Lomachenko were to win, Davis Lomachenko would be another huge promotion, bigger than Haney and Davis would be, just because of his Lomachenko's reputation.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I know I remember before, I think before Tank fought Pedraza, I think for the IBF belt, they were mentioning Lomachenko's name, but I think that was more for kind of promotion for the fighter, so more people could look into him. Like they'll pin him to a bigger name. That way, he gets a little bit of more recognition. I think because I don't think he was ready for somebody like Lomachenko back then when they were when I think it was Mayweather bringing up Lomachenko's name. But Mayweather did bring up something around that time. He said I don't know if it was Mayweather or what's the uncle? Not Roger, the other one. Um,
Oh,
uh,
Jeff.
Jeff. Yeah, it was one of them. They said uh, they said if Lomachenko was smart or something along those lines, he would take the fight now to take that win over Tank, because Tank's only going to get better, and it's going to be harder to beat him the longer he waits. Well, one of them mentioned that, and I kind of think, me personally, I think that's what Mayweather did with Canelo. when he fought Canelo. I think maybe he saw something, and he I think he thought maybe I should get this name on my resume, get this win on my resume right now before he becomes a better fighter, and he did become bigger star, and now he has that win over Canelo, and he brings it up every now and then, you know.
Now we just found out, I think today, that the fight did over like 1.4 million pay-per-view buys.
Hmm.
What did you think of the number?
Well, I think it's good, especially nowadays when so many people stream fights. Um, and they put side by side all the other pay per views. They weren't that high, so I think part of it was Ryan Garcia. Um, and then Tank has a following too. So I think it's always it takes two good fighters to have a pay per view success, because I think even when Mayweather was a big star, I don't think the Andre Berto pay per view did that good compared to his other numbers, because people I don't think people were interested in that fight.
Yeah, I think
Mayweather.
it's definitely a big sign for boxing because boxing hasn't had the best luck with pay-per-view over the past couple of years. So it really feels
Hmm.
like boxing's kind of getting rejuvenated a little bit.
Yeah, and I think uh, I think fighters and promoters need to start using kind of social media to their advantage to kind of hype up the fights, because I think that's where they get a lot of views from. You know, you got young people seeing all this controversy, on their Instagram feeds or TikTok, or I don't know if people still use Facebook, and then it just gets them all pumped up. I was surprised by how many people I talked to after the fight, how many people were going for Garcia, and I think people that told me that they don't really follow boxing. So my guess is they saw Garcia on their feed, and then they saw maybe him hitting the mitts, hitting the bags, yeah, and they just went with Garcia.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because this Tank, I mean, this Lomachenko and Haney fight's going to do a big number. I mean, how much I don't know, but there's going to be a lot of people interested, hardcore fans. And, I think Lomachenko has a following outside of the hardcores too, because they've been building him up on ESPN for a long time.
Hmm.
So I think that's going to do a good number. And if they can somehow get the fight signed, with the winner, that would
Yeah,
also, and then you got these other fights coming up. The biggest thing is Tank going to be able to get through this little legal issue that he has, you know.
what well, what's his is it did he
Well, he
get
had that hit and
arrested?
run accident, and it's on video. He
Okay.
returned to the scene. He took stuff out of the car. They drove him off. Yeah, it's a bad look for sure.
Oh,
Got in a wreck. People got hurt. He left the
huh.
scene and then he left the scene again. Went back.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a big mess. So I don't know how that's going to go. But yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting time for boxing as far as we got all these good fights coming up in a row. And with this next one, it's kind of right in the same weight, weight class, so to speak. So it's a
Yeah,
it's a good
I'm
time
trying
for
to think
boxing fans.
I'm trying to think what other fighters Top Rank has for the winner of Lomachenko Haney, because I think Shakur moved up, right?
Uh no, I've seen him talking about, kind of staying to see,
At
because of all
135.
the stuff that's gone on there.
Okay, because he didn't make weight for the 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 Brazilian guy. Forgot his name. The guy who he took a controversial loss to Oscar Valdez, and so then Shakur faced him, and then he beat him easily, but he didn't make weight, and he said that he was planning on moving up. And I think up there you got Teofimo Lopez. So I mean, but I think he's leaving top rank. Lopez is. So I'm not sure. So I'm trying to think what other options would Bob Arum have for the winner of Haney and Lomachenko, unless it's a close match, then maybe he could, do a rematch.
Or slip Camposos in there somewhere.
What was that? It glitched out. Can you say that again?
No, maybe he could slip Cambosos in there.
Oh, Cambosos. Huh.
Maybe
Oh,
if
with
Lomachenko won. I don't think he could do it if Haney won because they've already fought twice now.
huh. Or Cambosos versus Tank. It'll be a nice you know, free fight build up.
Yeah, that's one
Then
thing
people would,
that
would compare.
I think people don't think about when it comes to pay-per-view. They kind of had 2 months to really push this fight once it got announced. Rather than get
Oh,
announced and it happens the following month or 4
mm,
weeks. They had about 2 months. And I think that's kind of a good sweet spot, 2 to 3 months after you announce it where you can kind of,
build it up.
yeah.
Mm,
You don't have to take all the time with fights. And I think that's where boxing kind of got in their way, where they're doing the fights to build it up. You can have the fights, but once you announce it, you can do it like 2 months. And that's plenty to build it up as far as the pay-per-view goes. You don't need a fight
yeah.
to do it.
Mm.
And that's why I
Because
think it
I
did so
know
well.
yeah, and then well, yeah, they announced it. I don't know if you remember, they announced the Tank versus Garcia, and then they said it got called off. Similar to what Errol Spence and Crawford are doing right now. I think it's been official like 2 or 3 times, and then they call it off. So and it's supposed to be back on, but most people are just saying like, I'm just gonna wait till both of them are in the ring, or I'm not gonna believe any of it.
Yeah, I think they announced it as official during the pay-per-view.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's for June
Uh I don't know
or
the
May.
exact date, but yeah, I think it's June or July, one of those two. I
You
think
got you
it's
got a
June.
favorite on that one?
You know me, I always like to go in the videos looking at how can both guys win because so many people just want to say, "Oh, I only think this guy's going to win." But in a
Mm-hmm,
fight, especially in MMA, but in boxing too,
mm-hmm,
there are ways where both guys can win. Now, sometimes it's very one-sided
mm-hmm.
for one guy. But, especially if they have power like Garcia and Tank, if Garcia had landed something, maybe he could have won the fight. But were his odds of winning as high as Tank's were? No. Did he have as
And
many avenues to win? Probably not. But I feel like there's always an opportunity, and those guys are both really good. I think I would lean toward Crawford, though.
Crawford, yeah, Crawford. I learned not to bet against Crawford a long time ago because he always finds a way, and then he has those abilities to switch from southpaw to orthodox very well. Um, but um, Spence is a strong guy. When he starts walking you down and landing those body shots, but also Crawford, he's slick. He moves to the side. He'll change his angles. He'll work something on the fly, and that's what I like about Crawford. I think he thinks and changes his plans on the fly, and then just lands something out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think if I had to say who has more ways to win, I think it'd be Crawford. I think he's a little bit better,
Crawford.
but they
Hmm.
both could win if the fight goes the way they need it to go.
I think these are the type of fighters where if you make them fight 5 times, there's gonna be different outcomes every single time. I think that's how good both of them are.
Yeah. That's going to be fun to do. And obviously, talking about Haney and Lomachenko is going to be interesting as well. I
Yeah.
think, like you're saying, you think Lomachenko will win. I wonder, Haney, I think, still he's going to be able to kind of play off that because some people thought he wasn't going to win the fights against Cambosos, you know. So
I was one of them. I thought
yeah,
Cambosos was gonna uh bring it to Haney, and Haney wasn't gonna be able to figure him out since because I thought Cambosos was gonna attack him the way he went on Lopez, and I think he tried, but I think Haney just neutralized that with his speed, and I know people like to say he has pillow hands or no power, but Cambosos was thinking twice about just running in there. So he's got to have something, you know. If he had Cambosos thinking twice about just stepping in there, he
yeah.
kept
I
him
mean,
at bay.
people used to say that about Mayweather, and he would say, "Well, if you're not in here with me, you wouldn't know." You know, people used to
Yeah,
say that about
from
him.
some of the things I read from his sparring partners, they say that he has a very strong jab to the body. Mayweather does.
Yeah.
So
Well, Art, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this, you know, and to wrap this fight up. I really enjoyed talking about it with you pre-fight too, you know, and I think it turned out the spectacle itself and the fight, I think it kind of lived up to what people's expectation. Maybe the fight, it wasn't a war, but I think the whole thing overall, the build up, the fight, and then kind of some of the stuff that went on. I think the whole experience lived up to what we wanted mostly, I would say.
oh yeah, I was happy with the fight. The only people I heard complaining about the fight were the people who lost money to by betting on Garcia, you know. So I think they're just more bummed out about losing the bet than the actual fight. But the fight was good, and I mean Garcia, he brought it. You know, he he could have he could have. I mean, if he would have boxed from a distance and still was losing every round and went the whole distance, people would have been complaining. So I mean, you know, they both went in there and put on a good show. So I was happy with the fight overall.
Yeah, I think the overall experience of this kind of big fight lived up to I think what most people wanted from the experience. It wasn't the battle that we thought it would be, but it was the whole thing as a whole. I think was top notch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, Art, you know, I want to thank again. I want to thank you for taking time to do this, and yeah, I look forward to having you on more discussions.
All right, thank you too.
All right, man. It was great talking to you again, and take care.
All right, same.